We are live, I believe. Welcome back to Solo Club, guys. I hope you're well. I'm a few seconds late because I had a slight disaster with my posh coffee machine downstairs. For some reason, I decided to do a deep clean of the milk thing. That was a bad idea 5 minutes before a live stream, so apologies for that. Didn't go well. It's fairly wet down there now. Way too much information. Anyway, I hope you're well. Happy Friday. It's been a very busy week, as always, at Mark Ellis Reviews Towers. Uh, yeah, just crazy. The fact that Apple has scheduled an event completely out of the blue, pretty much, next week has made things even more crazy. But I'm not complaining because it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. It's just, I need a holiday. Really need a holiday. Um, anyway, enough about me, kind of. Kind of what this is about, isn't it? What we're going to do today is talk about communities and, in particular, Discord. And this is a bit of a plug, yes, but it's also designed to help you guys, hopefully. And also, it's a good lesson, I suppose, for creators and people who want to get into this business and create their own communities and become, known and trusted in their niche. And it's a huge part of it. Before we do that, a couple of bits of housekeeping as always. First thing is that if you haven't checked out the Substack newsletter, please do. The link is down below somewhere, and it's basically a rambling newsletter. I'm not really selling it very well here, but it's a really engaging, interesting newsletter that I send out every Friday morning, and it's kind of a written version of this. So it's a bit of a look into the behind the scenes thing. It's a bit of a meandering kind of stream of consciousness from a content creator who is running a incredibly busy business in this industry, and because of that, I think there's some gems in there. I'm going to say that obviously, but I do think there's some gems in terms of advice, but also insight into what's going on behind the scenes in businesses like this. So it's completely free, and you can unsubscribe at any time. No hard feelings. But yeah, the link is just down below if you want to check that out. Secondly, technically, these are Q&As. They were started as Q&As, these live streams. But what I do now these days is a kind of preamble. So I talk about a specific topic, and then we dive into the Q&As. However, if you've got a question for me now, just stick it into the chat window. I'm purposely not looking at the chat window yet. I can see people are coming in. I don't know who you are yet because I'm not looking. I don't want to be distracted. I don't want to start answering questions before it's time. But like I say, fill that chat window with your questions, which can be about what I'm about to talk about. If I spark some debate and questions in your mind while I'm talking, stick them in there. But equally, if you've had a burning question for me that you've wanted to ask me for a long time, don't be shy. Put it in the chat window, and you can ask me anything within reason. Obviously, try it. Ask me. I'll take every question. Some of them, if I can't answer, I won't. But thus far, I think hopefully the regulars that come on this live stream will agree that I don't think I've not or refused to answer anything. I've always answered them one way or another. So stick them in the chat window, please. Um, okay, I want to talk about communities and building a community as a content creator. And I want to give a very real life example of this, which every day amazes me. And it's probably the thing about this business and about this industry, or I suppose more so about my business within this industry, that amazes me the most and delights me the most and surprises me the most every single day. And that is the Discord server that I have for Mark Ellis Reviews. So if you're not aware, I have a Patreon membership system where you can become a patron of the channel, pay me a certain amount per month, and for that you get some additional content. But the big thing you get really is the Discord server. So you get access to this private chat group, which sounds a bit strange, but it's not at all. It's just a private, closed doors chat group that you have to be invited into. And in this case, I've integrated, and this is very common. I'm not breaking new ground here at all. You integrate Patreon with Discord, so that you can add it as a benefit to patrons who sign up and pay you that monthly fee. And I started the Discord server for Mark Ellis Reviews roughly when I started the channel. I knew that it was a thing, and I thought, well, let's get that in place. There was no patron stuff back then. So it was literally a case of opening this Discord server, setting it up, and then just adding a link to it, an invite link to it in every single video. All of those early videos, I think it's probably still there actually. If you go back, they don't work these links, but if you go back and look at the early doors Mark Ellis Reviews videos, you'll see that there's an invite to a free Discord server. And as the channel picked up pace, that link was being used quite heavily. A lot of people were coming through. In fact, a surprising number. So this Discord server, which is, if you're not familiar with Discord, it is just a chat group. It's a chat platform. So you can have, it's a bit like Slack. If you ever use Slack, you can have different channels for different topics and things, and then within those channels, you can have people talking in them basically. And it's as simple as that. It's used a lot in gaming and lots of other industries, but it's it's a really nice way to build a community. But going back to what I was doing with it originally, so I was just letting anyone in, anyone who found that link that said join the free Discord server. They clicked on it and they were straight in, no questions asked. And I would do that again if I had my time again. If I was starting a brand new channel, which I'll come on to actually, in terms of this channel, I would do it again because that opened the doors. And the strategy behind that, one of the strategies was the fact that I couldn't ask people for money to join that Discord server because I was completely unproven. I was a brand new YouTuber. Why should people know or like or trust me until they've watched my stuff and got to know and like me? So I had no right to say you can come into my Discord server, but you've got to pay a fee because no one's going to do that. However, if it's free, people possibly are going to do it. And they did in their droves. And like I say, the second strategy behind that was to get some decent numbers in there. So get a fairly big user base in the Discord server. So I could then say, look, if you want to join it, you've got to pay a fee. You've got to become a Patreon. And I did that, I think, within probably about 18 months. I realized that the Discord server was starting to get quite busy. And what had happened, all these people came in on this free ticket. And a very rough estimate, I'd say maybe 5% at that point kind of stayed and really engaged. Maybe 10% possibly, and that's not being too kind. So all these freebies came in. Some of them kind of logged in and thought, what on earth is this? And disappeared, or came in and thought, this isn't very busy, and disappeared. But some of them stayed. And you may be watching this, you may be joining me live now, you may be watching this in the future, you may be one of those people who came in very early doors. One of the people who did do that is my podcast co-host, Rob. So 8 or 16, that podcast, he is my podcast co-host, obviously. And I met him on Discord. I don't know Rob before Discord, before Mark Ellis Reviews. We weren't schoolhood mates or anything like that at all. Schoolhood? Boyhood mates. We met on the Discord server, but he was one of those founding members, if you like. And there's a whole bunch of other people on there who join him in that regard. So once it got to a stage where there was enough stuff going on, there were enough chats, enough things happening in there, and there were messages every day and little discussions and little friendships and stuff forming. I thought, right, now it's time to shut the doors, literally pull down the shutters and say you're only coming in if you're a Patreon. And that was probably, like I say, 18 months in, something like that. And that worked really well. And it brought in a trickle of new people every few months. Patreon is very difficult to get up and running. I recommend giving it a go. I don't mind being open about the numbers. So my Patreon membership at the moment, in terms of numbers, is about 32, 33 people, something like that. And in terms of revenue, that is about 150 quid a month. So it's not going to make me a millionaire. And for that reason, I have to be very careful about the perks that I give those guys because they have to be profitable. To be completely brutally honest, I've spoken about this with them on private vlogs that I do for them occasionally, and I have to be so careful with my time with that because even though that the thought that someone random somewhere in the world is paying a monthly fee to be my patron is just mind blowing. It's by far the most generous thing I can ever think of in terms of this industry. I still have to think about it like a business. If I put too much effort into those perks for 150 quid a month, then other things will be left wanting in terms of the content, the main content. You know what I'm saying? I have to be very careful with that. But I think I've found a balance now where I have people on Patreon who are basically paying those membership fees because they want to support the channel, which is just unbelievably lovely. I still can't get over that people do that, but I think I've had a balance between that and then offering some value as well. But I think the Discord server is the biggest piece of that. I think it's such a valuable asset for me, for the business, but also for the members on there. And what's happened over these 3 years is that that Discord server has just kind of ran itself, and it's become this little community. Every morning, this is God's honest truth. Every morning, we all go on, well, most of us go on there and say good morning. So I get up at stupid o'clock to start work. Um, and so 6 a.m. I go on to Discord normally, 6:30 sometimes, and sometimes 7, sometimes 10 actually. But every morning I'll go on and say, "Good morning, guys," and everyone else does the same thing. All these people who didn't know each other before I started the Mark Ellis Reviews YouTube channel, which again is just mind blowing why that's happened. It's kind of all down to me, which is just so weird. I don't. When you think about it, it all stemmed from me being in my back garden with my girlfriend in March 2020, turning to her and saying, "I'm gonna start that YouTube channel." If I hadn't done that, these people wouldn't have ended up on this Discord server and become friends and had a laugh, and it's ever so weird. I'm just a guy from Northampton. I'm just a bloke from Northampton, and if you know Northampton in the UK, that's why it's surreal. Anyway, so this kind of community has been forging or developing itself on that Discord server for the last 2 or 3 years, and I don't get involved that much, and this is intentional. I didn't want it to be about me. I don't mean that in a flippant way. I genuinely didn't want it to be about the Mark Ellis Reviews brand. I wanted it to kind of fall off the back of that, so people discover it through watching my videos or listening to the podcast or whatever, but they join it, and then what it actually becomes once they've joined it is a community, and it's a place where they can meet like-minded people. They can get advice on what tech to buy. They can have a laugh. They can do this, that, and the other. It isn't really to do with Mark Ellis Reviews. And for that reason, intentionally, I have pulled back a little bit from it. I do dip in. I do take some very good-natured banter and flack on there, which is mainly at the hand of Rob. A lot of it completely unrepeatable on a YouTube live stream. But I don't really get involved that much. It's all down to the members and watching that thing grow, and it's just amazing. So as you can imagine, I want to do the same thing for Solo Club. It was right from the start of this channel, the start of this brand, that having a Discord server in the same vein as the Mark Ellis Reviews one was completely at the top of my mind. Um, Now, in terms of the reasons that I'm doing this, and the reason that I think this sort of stuff is important if you're a content creator or want to become a content creator, um, is that you can thrive on your own to a certain degree. So as long as you're consistent and you have good processes, etc., you can build a pretty impressive YouTube business. There's no kind of no one's doubting that. I'm not saying you can't, but I think for it to really thrive, there has to be that other element, which is the community, and that isn't just the community in your comments threads, because that's very incredibly valuable. I've said this before, and you will see as you make more YouTube videos and as your audience grows, you'll see the same people coming back, the same people commenting, people recognizing you and doing things like, you publish a video and someone comes on and says first, as in first comment. When you first get that, excuse the pun, that's wonderful, because clearly those people are waiting for your stuff. So there's a community there, but you can't just rely on that. You have to kind of take that community and do something with it, because the combination of your expertise and your ability to ensure that you're becoming known, liked, and trusted, the combination of that and a community creates a much bigger brand. It makes you as a YouTuber and your business far more interesting, both from a sponsorship point of view, which is important, but also from the ability to growth, the ability to grow. You'll grow quicker with a big, active, engaged community. And I say big, it doesn't even need to be big. The Discord server for Mark Ellis Reviews isn't huge at all. It's just got a lovely bunch of people on it, and that's what matters. So it's the same thing with Solo Club. For this brand to grow, and it's in its very early stages at the moment. We've got, I think, just under 1,300 subscribers on the YouTube channel. It's a very small brand at the moment, but I have really big plans for it. This isn't just a side project off the back of Mark Ellis Reviews. It's not just the kind of thing that I've decided to do, while I've got, for any spare time I've got, I'll just chuck it into Solo Club. It's not that at all. It's 50-50 in terms of the importance of Solo Club and Mark Ellis Reviews. It's just that Mark Ellis Reviews has a 3-year head start. So this is a long-winded way of saying the Discord server for Solo Club is now completely free to join. This wasn't the case to begin with. It was pretty much hidden, actually, unless you signed up to the Medium Academy. But since I've brought in a couple of people to help me behind the scenes with the new Academy, by the way, guys, if you want to check out the new Academy, which goes live in January, this is where I reveal everything behind this business and help you and do all this stuff and have these kind of weekly, not weekly, monthly Q&As about it. And we have every 2 weeks, there'll be new modules dropping to help you become profitable content creators. Go and check it out. There's a link below. But yeah, originally the Discord server was purely linked to that. And the people that I've brought in to help me with this have said, no, let's make it free to join. Have it in two sections, basically. So when you join the Solo Club Discord server now, there's two elements to it, if you like. One of them is the free chat group. So there's a general chat you can go in. Everyone gets access to that. There's 3 or 4 of those basically where anyone can go in, anyone can join, go into those chat groups and chat away and meet people and talk and share stuff and all the rest of it. Then there's some private groups which are reserved for people who are paying to be members of the Academy, and they go into more detail. They provide a space really for very specific topics like writing, video work, all that sort of stuff. But the point being, it's free to join. You don't need to be an Academy member to become part of the Solo Club community. And what I do see, what encourages me about this and gives me some hope that this is going to work, is that every Friday I come on here and do these live streams, and a whole bunch of you come on, and I see the same people each time, which is amazing. And over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've seen new people come in as well. And again, going back to what I was saying a moment ago, the community that you have on YouTube, directly in YouTube, whether it be on comments or in this case on the chat for a live stream, that's just the start of it. And I'd love to get you guys into the Discord server. There's no, this is a kind of a pitch, but it's also, there's no obligation. It's completely free. And you can just leave it. If you join it and think, you can just go. There's no problem at all. There's no hassles with that. There's no pressure. I think at the time of filming, we've got 32 people on there at the moment. They're not all really active, but a bunch of them are. And there's some long-term Mark Ellis Reviews Discord members on there as well, which I think you'd have fun having a chat with. So anyway, that's a long way to say, in the description below, there's a link to the Discord server. Excuse me, my voice is going. Yeah, go and check it out. Let me know what you think. And we are taking feedback on how it's been constructed and how valuable it is and all that sort of stuff. But I'm on there as well. I will try and be as active as I can. But again, it's not about me. It's more about the community. Excuse me, my voice is actually just evaporating. So guys, that was the preamble, which was a bit shorter than last week. I think I waffled on for 30 minutes last time. Let's dive into the chat. So, as I mentioned at the start of this live stream, questions, guys. Please hit me with as many questions as you like about anything. When it comes to tech, I do occasionally get tech questions on this live stream. I don't mind answering the odd tech question, but that's for Mark Ellis Reviews. And on that note, another plug. I'm turning to a salesman, aren't I? Used to be a salesman, actually. On Monday night, there's no you don't have to buy anything, to be fair. It's all free stuff. On Monday night, 2 hours before the Apple event, I'm doing a live stream on Mark Ellis Reviews. If you go onto the Mark Ellis Reviews channel and into the live bit, you'll see the scheduled thing there. Yeah, that will be the place to ask me about the Apple event and all that stuff. So really, this is all about content creation and solopreneurship and all that stuff. So hit me with your rhythm stick and your questions, please. I don't know why that just came out then, but it did. Hi Jakob, hi Johan, Alan. This is what I mean. All the regulars always turn up, which is lovely. James, Johan, Martin. Sorry if I'm terrible with names. Apologies. Callum's here. Callum is one of the people behind Solo Club. So he's one of those mysterious people who lurks in the shadows doing things. He doesn't lurk in the shadows, actually, to be fair, because Callum is on the Discord server. So you'll get to chat with him as well. Alan, you did make it live this week, which is awesome. What's this? Hi, what did you say when Apple starts that event you did not expect? I think you're referring potentially there to the video that I put out where this is quite a good, very brief topic, actually. If this is what you're referring to, apologies if it's not. Hi, let me read it again. what did you say? When Apple starts that event, you might need to just clarify what you mean, but it's just sparked something in my mind, which I'll just very quickly mention. So this is only really applicable to people who cover Apple in tech on YouTube, but it's definitely a story worth telling because I am. I had a down here. It's out of shot, but just under this desk is a 24-inch iMac, which is lying unloved on the floor. I'm very embarrassed that it's not being used, but it's just down there, not being used at the moment. And because of that, I had a video planned about. Well, it was going to go live next week on the 31st of October. I had a video planned about the iMac, and the working title for this was "Is the iMac Dead?" I thought it was a brilliant idea. I thought this is fantastic. There's no more Apple stuff coming this year. Brilliant. This is going to fly off the shelves. People want to know whether or not to buy a 24-inch iMac now. Let's do the whole thing. Is it dead thing? Planned this 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then earlier this week I started looking on Twitter/X and noticed that a lot of people were talking increasingly about a rumored Apple event. And I remember looking at my phone and thinking, what Apple event? And then did a bit more research, and then my heart dropped and raised at the same time because I realized that it was going to be a Mac event, and it was most likely going to happen next week. And then 2 days later, we got the invites from Apple, the online invites. And guess what? They are doing a Mac event on the 30th/31st ish of October. And the likelihood is they're going to launch a new iMac. So, and I had this video planned, thankfully not shot, not scheduled, but this is the iMac Dead video, all planned and ready to go, and it was sponsored. So I had it. I think the next day I was going to do the filming for the sponsor. Oh, horrible. The point being, stuff happens in this game completely out of your control. This has happened. In fact, it happens at least once a year with Apple, where I plan ahead with something, I get a sponsor involved, and then Apple does something which completely ruins that video idea. You have to react quickly with that. And what I did in this case, because it was that original video idea was a complete no-goer. Could not make that video, for obvious reasons. I panicked a little bit, thought about crying, and then thought, no, hang on, there has to be a solution. So what we did, I say we, myself and Niall, my general manager, we had a very quick chat about it and decided to shoot the sponsor, so get the sponsor bit done, and inform the sponsor that we can't tell them what video it's going into because who knows what Apple is going to do. But on the good side, it means that there should be high engagement because it will be off the back of an Apple event, which is always good news for this sort of stuff. Thankfully, the sponsor is lovely, and they said, we'll leave it to you, just go for it. But they did need to see the sponsor read beforehand, which meant getting dressed. This makes sense. The reason I'm saying that will make sense in a moment. Getting dressed, coming to the studio, getting dressed, getting my girlfriend to take a photo of what I was wearing, then coming to the studio and getting the iMac, putting it on this desk, doing the sponsor read, and then getting on with the rest of my day once I'd sent that sponsor read to the sponsor. The reason that my girlfriend took a photo of me wearing what I was wearing is because I'm going to have to wear the same thing next week when I make the video reaction to whatever Apple does next week. Because continuity. So my girlfriend, not only is she the studio manager here, she's also the continuity person, bless her. So yeah, I was making a point with this, which I've completely forgotten. And Martin, it's nothing to do with the question you asked. I'm really sorry. But the point being, things happen that are out of your control, particularly when you're working or you're doing stuff that relates to a brand that you have no control over. Obviously, I have no control over what Apple does. They call the shots and I have to react to it. So that's what we did. And what we're going to have to do next week is just a reaction video, which I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I do at least have that sponsor read ready to slot into it. So, Martin, that's probably nothing to do with what you're asking. Apologies, but an interesting story, hopefully. Excuse me. Welcome, everyone who is joining as I'm talking. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Johan, what tips do you have to encourage audiences to move from one platform to another? I have a big following on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how to encourage them to migrate to YouTube where it's monetized. It's really difficult, Johan. And it's something you can't force. That's something that I've learned over the last few years is that you cannot force You shouldn't force them anyway, but you can't really encourage people to come across to different platforms. They'll do it when they're ready. The reason for that, I think personally, is that the each platform has a very specific audience. You know, people who love you on LinkedIn. Is it LinkedIn that you're on? Yeah. So people who love your stuff on LinkedIn may not have an interest in YouTube. They may not even use YouTube. It's a very different audience. There will be some crossover, and where that crossover is, it will happen naturally, basically, Johan. So that they will naturally come across. They'll if someone follows you on LinkedIn, all you've got to do really is just occasionally slip in the fact that you've got a YouTube channel. Just mention it. Don't say come and follow me on YouTube. Just mention the fact, in passing, in a post that you're making on LinkedIn, that on my YouTube channel last week, yada yada yada. Now the people who spot that, who love YouTube, will think, oh crikey, Johan's got a YouTube account. Right, let's go and find it. They find you, they subscribe. Happy days. But you can't force it at all. So I wouldn't put too much thought into it. I would just surreptitiously slot mentions of your YouTube channel into your LinkedIn content. Don't be too obvious about it. Just because, like I say, you're not. If someone has no interest in YouTube, you can't convert them to go and watch it. What can happen with that? And I've had this myself, where you force people over to a platform either via a giveaway, possibly, or a promise of something just to get them onto it. If they don't have any interest in that platform, they can see potentially something in it for them. They'll kind of shrug their shoulders and go, "Yeah, all right, I'll follow you." But then they'll watch one video and then disappear. And what that means is you've inflated basically your subscriber base, and it's not quite the case. You've got dead subscribers in there. So let it happen naturally, but just put little kind of hints that you're a YouTuber as well, and it will bring across the right people basically. And people will hunt you down as well. They'll look for your stuff. James, curious question. Are you the type of creator who would happily publish yearly income like Ali Abdaal, or do you prefer to keep it private? Why do you think some prefer to share the financial side? I have shared it already, actually, James, not for this year, and I can't remember when I did it. I think it was last year, possibly. This was was it before? It might have been at the start of Solo Club. I can't remember. You might want to go back and look through. I've definitely done a monthly income thing where I revealed a certain monthly income a few months back. I'm more than happy to share some of that stuff. You have to be a little bit careful with this, and Ali himself is careful with this because he's not showing you the entire picture. He may be giving you a rough idea of what the total figure is, but when he breaks it down, he does have to be careful because the key thing really is sponsorships. You can't divulge sponsor relations in that way because you sign contracts and NDAs and things. So you do have to be careful with it. But I am more than happy to be open about this. And at some stage, possibly at the end of this year, I'll show you the income from YouTube. We'll do a screen share, and I'll show you the AdSense income, and I will also talk about sponsorship income and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't see any benefit in keeping it private. I run a limited company as well, so my limited company is Mark Ellis Media Limited. It used to be Business Fiction Limited. That we changed its name this year. But yeah, Mark Ellis Media Limited. I have to publish accounts every year, so you can see turnover and stuff. But yeah, why do you think some prefer to share it? I think I don't know. I genuinely don't know why some people prefer to share it. Prefer is probably the wrong word. I think probably feel they want to share it. I think it's the people who don't share it who I think prefer not to share it. I can't speak for them. I mean, it's probably just that they just want to keep things private. Particularly if it's not a public limited company. I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's important to show a couple of things really. I think it's important to show the opportunity that's out there because I've never earned as much money in my life. I'll be completely open. I've never worked as hard in my life ever. And I've never spent as much money in my life. That's the other side of it, which I'll come on to in a moment. But in terms of turnover, as someone who's running a very, very small business in terms of people, I've got myself and my girlfriend are employees, and everyone else who does stuff is a contractor. So, but there's not many of us. It's a very small team. So in terms of that, I'm very pleased with the turnover. Costs are huge. You spend more on this business than I think people realize. I think my costs in 2022. Is that right? Last year, I think it cost 40 grand to run this business, and back then it was smaller than it is now. And also, it was just me. There was probably I had one other person that I was getting to do some stuff, but yeah, 40 grand, which went on studio rent, review units, which was a big part of it, studio gear, software licenses, yeah, insurance, all the normal stuff basically, and that's before you get to the corporation tax that you have to pay and all the rest of it. So it's I think there is this misnomer among the trolls on YouTube that we're just swimming in money, and it's just you wake up and you just kind of have to fight through £50 notes to get to your really expensive clothes, and you go downstairs, get into your Ferrari, and sorry, get into the back of your Maybach, and get your driver to take you in. It's nothing like that. I'm sure it is for some people, but I think even the big guys and girls on YouTube, they'll tell you the same story. It's very expensive to run these businesses, so. Yeah, but I will share more as we go along, James. It's I've got no problem in sharing stuff. Alan, okay, I'll let you off. This is a tech question, isn't it? Sorry, on tech. If you could choose, if you could choose, do you want Monday to be about the MacBook Pro or the iMac? Oh God, that's a really tricky. There's two answers to this, which I know is really pathetic. The reason there's two answers, I'm going to answer one as a content creator and one just as a business owner. The first one as a content creator is the iMac. If Apple, and I think they will, if they do something with the iMac next week, that's a big story. It's a really important thing for my business because it's not guaranteed, but historically, content about that iMac that's down there has performed really well. That thing has done its job over and over again. So a new iMac, happy days. Thinking of as a business owner, I need to replace my 16-inch MacBook Pro for various reasons, and I need a new MacBook Pro. And the benefit of getting one for the business, there's a side benefit, which is the content. I don't think the content will be quite as magnetic as it is for the iMac. I might be wrong on that. We'll find out if this is what happens. But yeah, that's a bit of a cop out answer, Alan. But it's Friday. I'll just say that. Jakob, what works best for developing community in your eyes? Let me have a quick drink. I think the first thing is what I mentioned a moment ago, which is make it free to join. Certainly to begin with, open up the doors. Just let anyone in. Bear in mind that you may get some idiots come through. I think, having said that, to give you some reassurance, for the 18 months ish that the Mark Ellis Reviews Discord server was open, I think we had one instance where someone came in and attempted to cause havoc, and they were very quickly kicked out and booted out. It wasn't long after that actually that I decided to close the doors, because I realized that as the channel was getting bigger, there was more chance of those sort of people coming in. But yeah, start by opening it completely. Make sure you engage as much as you can do to begin with, and pull back a little bit, because you want the community to not rely too heavily on you. You want it to blossom on its own, really. But yeah, make it free to join, make it easy to join as well, and use something recognized. Use Discord, Facebook group if you have to. I'm not a fan of Facebook, but if you have to, use that. But use a platform that people know and can access easily. And don't set too many rules and things. I think that's the other thing we didn't do on the Discord server. There weren't, and there's still are. I don't think we've even got a rules thing on it. Just yeah, it's like not micromanaging your staff. Let it develop on its own, and yeah, I haven't done much really yet, Jakob, apart from open that Discord server, make it free, dive in occasionally myself, and let it flourish. It seems to have worked. I think the best communities are the ones that can kind of live off their own back and just develop themselves, really. What do you think about reducing Patreon tiers to just one tier for easier maintenance? Yeah, so at the moment I've got 3 Patreon tiers. I've got members, members plus, and super members, I think. I think I'm seriously considering potentially doing something like this, because I think the mistake I made, and this is again, it's a good lesson for other people, is that I created too many benefits and too many tiers. Really, I think 3 tiers is probably too many for a single creator. It's very hard to work out what to give as different benefits, and benefits that get more impressive as you go up the tiers. There is an argument to say just have one where you get access to early content, you get access to perhaps an audio version of content from YouTube, and you get a Discord server, and you're supporting that creator, which interestingly, what I did recently, so I originally I was giving super members and members plus members vlogs. So I was sending out occasionally, and it was very sporadic, but these ad hoc day in the life vlogs, which were just going out to patrons. I loved making them, but they were quite intensive, as you can imagine. It was another thing to do. And going back to what I was mentioning right at the start of this, where I noted that the Patreon income is about 140, 150 quid a month. Spending an entire day filming myself and then editing it and sending it, that's not profitable, unfortunately. So I made the very difficult decision recently to stop doing those. And I went onto Patreon and made one last vlog for those guys and said, look, I gave them that reason I've just given you, and said, look, I don't know how else to kind of reward you and kind of what to put in its place. And a lot of people got back and said, we don't really care about the benefits. And this was their words. We don't really care about the benefits. It's we just, I want to support you as a creator, which again is so overwhelmingly lovely. Um, but I hadn't really thought about that. I hadn't thought that people would pay money each month just to support what I do. It's amazing. It's a wonderful thing, but you shouldn't rest on your laurels with that, obviously. But going back to your question, Jakob, possibly. I'm thinking I've got ideas with Patreon. I'm not going to rush it at all because things are fine at the moment. But yeah, maybe we'll see. James, you've absolutely mentioned this before, but I've forgotten. Sorry, but what's been your career journey from aged 18 to today? Right, crikey. I think this needs to be a really quick potted history, doesn't it? So 18, I was born in 1980. You can work out how old I am. So when I was 18, I did the whole school thing, didn't drop out of school or anything like that at all. Did my A levels in the UK. If you're from the UK, you'll know what they are. And then I didn't go to university. I thought about it, but I just didn't want to go, really. It wasn't a difficult decision. I just thought, nah, I want to go into the world of work. I don't want all that debt that I hear people have. The only thing I kind of knew I was missing out on was the social aspect of it. Really, I think that was the one thing that and it's still to this day. Part of me wishes I'd had those 3 years and met fellow students and graduates and stuff. But no, I just looked at it and thought, nah. So I went straight into the world of work. Did some kind of small menial jobs, as we all do, bar stuff, and I worked in Barclays National Record Services where they used to house all the used checks, and we had to get checks out for fraud checking and stuff. Really not very interesting at all. And did all that stuff. And then in 20, no, not 20, 19, no, 2001 would it have been? I ended up applying for a job at a computer software company, which was based in a place called Stratton in Northampton. This might be too much detail, but I don't care. If you know Northampton, you know Stratton, you'll know what I'm talking about. And stayed there for 16 years. And this was a software company. They don't exist anymore. They got swallowed up by a big Canadian firm. It used to be called Welcome Computer Systems. Memories. Worked there, like I say, for 15, 16 years and started off in the support department. So helping, basically, we developed software for hotels and bars and restaurants. So I started off in support, helping people fix what was very bad software, very old, decrepit software, bless it. And did that for 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years, but kind of moved while I was doing that, moved into installations on site and training on site, and then made a leap from that after 4 or 5 years to become the salesperson, the salesman, which was a complete left field switch, something that I hadn't considered doing before. Never been a salesperson before, never had a sales job, and yeah, did that for how long? Another 4 years. Became my phone's going off, guys, and it's my girlfriend, and we do have a poorly son at the moment. So can you just give me 2 seconds? I'm really sorry. This is the first time this has happened, guys. Our son's got a really high temperature. He's okay, we think, but we just need to take him to the doctor. So I've got to go. Apologies, guys. Any parents will know what this is about, so I'm gonna have to stop the live stream here. We'll pick this up again next week, I promise. I'll let you know how he is. I'm sure he's fine. We just want to take him to the doctors to get him checked out, and I've got the car, basically. So apologies. Thank you very much. See you soon, guys. Cheers.